got Michael Chandler versus Paddy Pimblett. As I mentioned, I met Michael Chandler before he fought Charles Oliveira at UFC 309 in New York. He was all right. He was decent and nice to speak to. I really appreciate him taking the time to take photos with us. He was at the Hard Rock Cafe. He was promoting some alcohol. I think it's his alcohol. And now he's fighting Paddy Pimblett. For a guy that was supposed to be fighting Conor McGregor, I think it was last summer, supposed to be fighting Conor McGregor, signed that dotted line to now be fighting Paddy Pimblett is a crazy turnaround. And it shows you the unreliability of Conor McGregor, first of all, to not show up to that fight. What happens then is Michael Chandler's out of the cage for 2 years. He goes in against a killer in Charles Oliveira, who's on this revamped, rehyped journey towards the title charge again. Loses, gets hurt pretty bad, has a lot of damage out of that fight, turns around, is now fighting Paddy Pimblett to kind of be served up as Paddy Pimblett's way into the top 5, way into the, upper echelons, the Mount Rushmore of the lightweight division that he'll enter if he gets a win against Michael Chandler. For Michael Chandler, this is all about keeping your status in the mix with the big boys in the lightweight division. And for Paddy Pimblett, this is all about taking Michael Chandler's status, taking Michael Chandler's name, putting him in the past, establishing yourself as the present and the future. And I think this is going to be a really interesting fight coming up. And if you had to ask me right now, like I did with Volkan Lopez, I would probably say Paddy Pimblett's going to win this fight. But at the same time, the amount of power that Michael Chandler possesses and the way that Paddy Pimblett unfortunately does keep his chin up in the air, you never know. If one of those connects with you, you could be going to sleep. So, that's a really huge matchup. But I did want to talk about, and this is kind of a narrative that's been going on, is the Michael Chandler spoke about the cheating allegations and kind of people labeling him as a dirty fighter. And he kind of said something to the effect of, I try and be a good person. I try and make sure that I do things with honor and respect. And so for people saying that I'm a dirty fighter, it's kind of hard for me. And I completely understand that. I guess if you're a person that identified yourself with values of being kind, respectful, not cheating, not doing quote unquote dirty things. But at the same time, if you look at his most recent fight with Charles Oliveira here in New York, there was a sequence where I think he did hurt Charles, but he had him, up against the cage and they were on the ground and he's ground and pounding the back of Charles Oliveira's head, maybe 10 to 20 times unanswered shots. And I made a clip here on the podcast after that event and said, Michael Chandler's a dirty fighter. You can't do that. It was purposely going for the back of the head. He responded, not to me, I'm not going to say to me, he responded in general to saying there is a specific part of the back of the head that's allowed by the Athletic Commission. I was in that 2-inch radius, whatever. I was in that 2-inch distance of the back of the head. It was just fine shots, legal shots, and then, but it's not just fans, right? It's other fighters. It's Justin Gaethje saying it. It's Dustin Poirier saying it. So at a certain point with guys he's been in there with are saying it, then it must be true. And I don't think they're just trying to gang up on him for no reason. And I've seen it. You can look at the footage. It's there for all of us to see. He has done quote unquote dirty things inside the octagon. But that is a huge thing. That's a huge narrative going into this fight, right? And it seems to be affecting him emotionally, where we might see an even more measured Chandler, an even more Chandler that's not just guns blazing, because that narrative might be playing a part to him. A lot of the narrative going to the Charles Oliveira fight was, I'm going to calm down. I'm not going to be as rash, as crazy, as chaotic when I'm in there. But at the end of the day, that's what's made him such a good fighter. It's kind of like Michael Chandler is kind of like the Russell Westbrook of the UFC, in the sense that, maybe Russell Westbrook's, pound for pound accomplishments in his own sport, if you could kind of compare them, are a bit higher to Michael Chandler, what he's done in MMA. But their mentality is the same. Just that 100% pedal to the metal, like, this is how I got here, this is how I'm going to do it, this is what's always worked for me. It affects their decision-making in the way that, Russ, late game, is going to play the exact same way as he does early game. He's going to play game 1 of the regular season the same way he's going to play game 82 of the regular season. He's going to play game 54 of the regular season the same way he's going to play, first round of the playoffs. There's no change in his mentality, in his decision-making. which means that if you always decide the same way and always act the same way, despite a change in context, that can cause some issues. That's what's kind of bit Michael Chandler in the ass throughout his career, is that he knows if I pump this pedal to the metal, I can get a win. I can knock out anybody. I can front kick Tony Ferguson into outer space. But it also gets him in trouble, right? With Charles Oliveira in that first title fight that he had. Or with Justin Gaethje going to war, making poor decisions. Dustin Poirier ending up getting finished. So at the end of the day, Michael Chandler is definitely, in my opinion, one of the most entertaining fighters of all time. Always delivers a good fight. It's not going to be any different with Paddy Pimblett. But there is definitely a sense for him that he needs to become more of a honed, calm, composed fighter. And I think he sat down with, I think it was, who was it? He sat down with a legend in the combat sports game, and he was doing an interview, and he was talking about how the Charles Oliveira fight was the biggest letdown of his career. I have it here. He says, I feel like I was more let down in my entire career than with any other fight in this last fight with Charles Oliveira. But I did see glimpses of more composure in that fight. There was a loss, but there was growth in that fight. If I use my brain, I think I made some very good veteran decisions. I felt more alive, more composed, and more comfortable in there. So I think there is definitely a shift within his camp with his coach and Henry Hoof and all the guys down there at Killcliff, probably telling him like, yo, you still can do this, but you're going to need to make smart decisions, especially as he gets older. I think he's approaching 40 years old now, especially at lightweight, as we spoke about with Volk. The older you are at the lighter weight classes, the more it hurts you, because you need that speed, you need that reaction time, and you need that agility, because the guys down there, it's just a murderer's row of a division lightweight. So, huge fight. I just want to talk about the cheating allegations. What do you think? Do you think Michael Chandler is a dirty fighter? Do you think that he needs to be more composed in the fight? Or do you think he needs to be the same on Michael Chandler and embrace who he really is to go get this win against Paddy Pimblett next Saturday? Let me know down in the comments.